following the payment of injury benefit, depending on the nature of the injury the person would have sustained, they may be encouraged to make application for disablement benefit. Disablement benefit is paid either in the form of a grant or a pension for life. What is required then is for that person to be sent to a referee of the board, who in fact will determine what degree of disability that person would have suffered. If that person is assessed at less than 25%, that person would be entitled to a one-time lump sum payment, the equivalent of $100 per centum. In other words, if a person is assessed at 20% disabled, that person would receive a one-time lump sum payment of $2,000. However, if the person is assessed at 25% or more, but less than 67%, they are entitled to a pension for life. Pensions are paid in units of tens. So in other words, if a person is assessed at 25%, their pension automatically would be paid at 30%. And the 30% would be a percentage of whatever they were being paid for injury benefit. So for example, if a person injury benefit was being paid at $400 per week, then their disablement benefit would be 30% of $400, which would be $120 times 52 divided by 12, which would be their monthly payment for life. In addition, they would also receive a one-time grant of $500. If their assessment is at 67% or more, then they would receive a one-time lump sum payment of $1,000. And if they were assessed at 67%, it would automatically go to 70%. So they would get 70% of whatever their injury benefit weekly payment was, times 52 divided by 12, which will give you their monthly payment. This payment is made for life. It's compensation for the injury that you had sustained. Where a person is assessed, and there's nothing to prevent a person, even though they are in receipt of disablement benefit, from continuing in employment. Unlike invalidity benefit, if you were determined to be an invalid, means that you are unable to work. But in the case of disablement, you can work and receive your disablement pension. And it does not affect your entitlement to retirement benefit. You can get disablement benefit and retirement benefit at the same time. As a matter of fact, you can get disablement benefit with all of the other benefit, except if you suffer a second accident, then your disablement benefit is suspended until the expiration of your injury benefit payment. So where a person is assessed at 100% disabled, the medical officer may increase that by 20% where a person requires constant care and attention. Where a person suffers a second accident, as I had mentioned earlier, their disablement benefit is suspended so that they can receive injury benefit, and then following the expiration of the injury benefit period, that person again may make application for disablement benefit. They would be sent out to be assessed. The referee would be advised, for example, that this person is currently receiving DBL at 40%. So you're to take that into consideration when you do your assessment based on the second accident. And so therefore, that may be increased to 50%, which means your DBL would be increased because you would have now moved from 40 to 50%. Where a person was assessed for a previous accident at less than 25%, then the law does not require that the medical referee be made aware that you were previously assessed, because you would have received compensation already for the first injury, and so therefore their assessment would be based on the existing injury without taking into consideration the previous assessment. So the only time the previous assessment is taken into consideration is when that person is currently receiving a pension for life.